nature. It's just this vast, incredible force that kind of wraps around us, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, think about the sheer scale. You've got the highest mountains almost touching the sky, and then you go right down to the absolute mystery of the deepest oceans. There's just so much out there that sparks our wonder.
Absolutely. And what's really fascinating, I think, is that even though we spent, centuries studying it, the natural world is still just brimming with secrets.
Yeah.
We often hold on to these surprisingly simple ideas, don't we? Like picturing animals as mostly solitary, maybe,
Yeah.
or plants just standing still, quiet. But when you actually dig into the recent research, the sources we looked at, wow, the reality is so much more intricate, dynamic, and frankly, full of surprises.
That's exactly what this deep dive is all about then. We've pulled together a whole stack of your source material, some really recent studies, reports, field notes, to really challenge some of those common ideas we might carry around, and to reveal the hidden complexities. We're going to unpack ecosystems, how communication really works out there, and just how incredibly adaptable nature, especially plants, can be.
Yeah, our mission here is basically to help you cut through some of the noise and uncover what's truly important in this material. And honestly, it's not just about satisfying curiosity, although there's definitely plenty of that. Understanding these secrets genuinely holds potential for, well, groundbreaking discoveries, things that can help us live better and, crucially, protect the planet we all share. So we're inviting you on this journey with us, really, to see what these sources reveal.
It's easy, isn't it, to fall into that trap of thinking nature is simple. We picture animals hunting, plants just growing where they can. It feels predictable, almost like a machine with simple parts.
And yet, the absolute core challenge that the sources keep highlighting is that ecosystems are anything but simple or linear. They're complex, interconnected webs of relationships. You pull one thread, just one, and the whole thing can unravel in ways you really wouldn't expect.
Exactly. And the material gives some really powerful examples of that. How a single change, like the decline of what we'll call a keystone species, that's a species that has this huge effect on its environment, way bigger than you'd expect from its numbers. How losing that one piece can have these massive cascading effects that ripple out across entire regions.
Right. And one of the standout examples from these sources has to be the reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone back in the 90s. Recent research documented something truly fascinating. It didn't just affect the deer population, which, okay, that was expected, but by changing where and how the deer grazed, those wolves actually changed the courses of rivers.
Changed the rivers. Wow.
Yeah, think about that. A predator changing the physical landscape. It's incredible.
That's where it gets truly mind-bending, right? It just underscores how much we don't fully grasp about this interconnectedness, and you see the very real consequences of that lack of understanding in the numbers, unfortunately. A recent report from the World Wildlife Fund gives this incredibly alarming statistic. Something like 69% of global wildlife populations have declined since 1970.
69%? That's staggering.
It is, and it's primarily down to habitat loss and climate change, things that directly disrupt those complex, delicate systems we're only now, maybe, starting to properly map.
It really speaks to the urgency, doesn't it? The urgency of truly appreciating and protecting these natural networks.
Okay, so let's tackle one of the big assumptions the sources challenge. This idea that animals are mostly solo operators, only really interacting when it's absolutely necessary, like for mating or hunting. And sure, for some animals, like, say, solitary jaguars, that holds true.
But immediately countering that is the stunning reality that many animals, and as we'll get to, even plants, they don't just coexist. They absolutely thrive within complex social structures. They rely on symbiotic relationships that are utterly essential for their survival. They're not just individuals out there, they're part of communities.
Okay, this next part from the sources is amazing. Tell us about what's happening underground, this wood wide web.
Yes, this is really revolutionary stuff. Recent studies have pulled back the curtain on these vast underground networks. They're formed by mycorrhizal fungi connecting tree roots. And it's not passive, it's a functional network. It allows for communication and, crucially, the sharing of resources between trees.
Sharing resources? Like how?
Well, trees can actually send nutrients through this network, almost like a pipeline, and maybe even transmit distress signals, like chemical warnings.
So they're not just rooting independently down there, they're actually plugged into something bigger.
Precisely. And the sources give this wonderful specific example from the Pacific Northwest. Douglas firs and paper birches. They're exchanging carbon through these fungal highways. And get this, the older mother trees are documented actively supporting younger saplings during hard times, like droughts. via this network.
Wow, that's like underground community support.
It really is. It fundamentally changes how you think about a forest, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And it's not just fungi and trees, right? The sources also highlight animal partnerships, like those flower peckers in the Philippines.
Right. In Baguio City, these little birds mentioned in the sources play this disproportionately huge role in forest regeneration. They eat fruits from native trees like the dap-dap, and then, well, nature calls. They deposit the seeds far away from the parent plant. This simple act ensures the next generation of trees gets spread out, preventing overcrowding and really aiding the forest's overall health.
They're like tiny flying gardeners, basically.
Yeah,
And there's a number in the sources that really underlines their impact, isn't there?
there is. A recent study found that these flower peckers contribute to a remarkable 30% of seed dispersal in some of Luzon's mountain forests.
30%, that's huge.
It's not just passive seed eating. That's a vital, active role in the ecosystem cycle.
These examples really pivot our understanding, don't they? Away from nature being just a collection of lone players and towards this complex, interconnected, well, the sources call it a symphony of cooperation.
It certainly makes you question that whole idea of isolated existence in the natural world. Definitely.
So beyond just how things interact, the sources also reveal these incredible secrets about how life communicates. And it's nothing like we might assume, so sort of dismantle that myth that animals lack language or that plants are just silent.
This is where nature's communication methods really challenge our human-centric ideas. Communication is happening. It's incredibly vibrant, multifaceted. It just uses different channels than human language.
Right.
Sound, movement, chemistry.
Okay, let's start with some animal examples from the sources. The Philippine eagles, for instance. What did the research show there?
Ugh. Magnificent birds. They use this intricate repertoire of calls. It's not just noise, it's for marking territory, attracting mates. And one recent study actually managed to record over 50 distinct vocalizations in just one population.
It's 50.
50 distinct calls. That strongly suggests a sophisticated system where different calls carry specific meanings. Essentially, a complex language that we're only just beginning to decode.
That's far more than just simple screeches or squawks.
Yeah.
And then there's the classic example, but still astonishing every time you hear about it, the honeybee waggle dance.
Ah, the waggle dance, yes. While we've known about it for decades, thanks to Carl von Frisch, recent work keeps exploring its remarkable precision. This dance isn't just random buzzing around. Its specific angle, the duration of the waggle part. It encodes the precise direction and distance of food sources. Bees can guide their nestmates with this information up to 6 miles away.
6 miles communicated through a little dance. That just absolutely shatters any notion of insects being simple automatons, doesn't it?
It really, really does. And the communication isn't limited to the animal kingdom. Plants, too, have their own, well, silent signals.
That seems almost impossible, plants talking, but the sources provide solid examples.
Yes, and it's fascinating stuff. Think about acacia trees out on the African savanna. When an herbivore, like a giraffe, starts munching on their leaves, they release ethylene gas into the air.
Yeah.
This gas acts as a chemical signal. It's essentially a warning flare that drifts over to neighboring acacia trees. And those neighbors pick up the signal and start producing bitter tannins in their own leaves, making them unappetizing to eat.
So they're literally sending a chemical alarm to their neighbors. Heads up, giraffe incoming, make your leaves taste bad.
Pretty much. Research showed that these acacias can detect the signals and trigger their tannin production within about 48 hours. It's a rapid, community-wide defense mechanism happening silently, right over our heads.
So the whole idea of silence in nature is just wrong based on this material. The languages are just spoken differently through sound, movement, chemistry.
Exactly, and we just need to learn how to interpret them. We're still very much in the early stages of eavesdropping, you might say.
Right. Okay, shifting gears a bit. The sources really drive home how often we underestimate plants. We tend to think of them as static, right? Rooted in place. But their ability to adapt and not just survive, but actually thrive in the most extreme conditions is truly mind-blowing.
Their adaptability, sometimes called plasticity, this ability to adjust to environmental shifts, it's just astonishing. The sources provide several really compelling examples of this resilience. You have cacti, obviously, in harsh deserts. They survive with that thick, waxy skin, spines to minimize water loss and deter grazers, storing precious water in their stems. The classic survivors.
Yeah, the ones we all know. But then you have something like the giant sequoias in California. Some are thousands of years old.
Yes. And recent research highlighted their unique adaptations. They have this incredibly thick, fire-resistant bark, which seems counterintuitive, maybe, but they actually rely on the intense heat of wildfires to open their cones and release their seeds. Fire isn't just a threat, it's essential to their life cycle.
That's a complete flip of the script from what you'd normally expect about fire and trees.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you go to high-altitude environments, like in Ecuador, where you find these paramo grasses.
What's special about them?
Well, they face brutal conditions, extreme UV radiation, freezing temperatures, really big swings in moisture. So they've adapted by developing these dense, almost woolly leaves that trap heat and moisture close to the plant body. And research also found they can alter their growth patterns, like hugging closer to the ground during dry spells to conserve water. That's active adaptation.
That ability to adjust their physical form, their, well, behavior almost, based on conditions.
Yeah.
That's the plasticity you mentioned.
Yeah.
Right? It allows them to colonize places we think nothing could possibly survive.
It's absolutely key to their incredible success and why you find plants pretty much everywhere on Earth.
Let's zero in on one specific example of symbiosis from the sources that really shows this intricate connection and challenges assumptions. The relationship between the clownfish and the sea anemone. We all kind of know this one from popular culture, right? Finding Nemo definitely brought it to the forefront.
It did. And for a long time, the common simplified belief was just that the clownfish had a special mucus layer that somehow made them immune to the anemone's sting. And, well, that was the whole story. They got protection, the anemone maybe just tolerated them. It wasn't clear what the anemone got out of it.
But the sources, particularly some recent marine biology research, reveal a much richer, more nuanced reality. It's not so one-sided.
Not at all. It completely reframed the relationship. It showed that the clownfish aren't just passively immune guests living there. They actively benefit the anemone. They perform these vital services, like removing parasites and dead tissue from the anemone's tentacles and stem. They even improve water circulation just by swimming among the tentacles.
So the clownfish is essentially cleaning and aerating its host, like a little helper.
Precisely. And in return, of course, the anemone provides the clownfish with that absolutely crucial safe haven from predators like moray eels who are affected by the anemone's sting. It's a truly mutualistic relationship. Both partners are actively contributing and benefiting each other's survival.
And the sources mention this beautiful partnership being observed specifically in the coral reefs around Palawan in the Philippines.
Yeah, it's a relationship honed over millions of years of evolution. The clownfish even lay their eggs right there at the base of the anemone, where they get unparalleled protection. It's a perfect, really sophisticated win-win scenario. And it just underscores how much we've underestimated the complexity of these interactions happening all the time, just beneath the surface, literally.
So we've explored some amazing individual secrets from these sources. The fungi networks, the ways animals and plants communicate, that incredible plant adaptability, specific partnerships like the clownfish and anemone. But these aren't just cool facts for a nature documentary, are they? The sources make it abundantly clear there are much broader real-world implications for understanding this stuff.
Absolutely. Understanding these intricate systems isn't purely academic, not at all. It has tangible, practical applications for conservation, for developing more sustainable agriculture, even for driving innovation through biomimicry.
Okay, how does this connect directly to conservation efforts? How does knowing about fungi help?
Well, knowing about things like the mycorrhizal fungi networks shifts our whole understanding of what it means to protect an ecosystem. It's not just about conserving a single animal or a particular stand of trees. It's about preserving the entire complex web of relationships, including the hidden ones underground. For instance, one initiative in Brazil's Amazon found that actively inoculating tree saplings with the right local fungi during reforestation projects actually increased tree survival rates by something like 15%.
15% is significant.
It's a direct, measurable impact from understanding that hidden connection.
That's a tangible benefit for restoration.
Yeah.
Okay, and agriculture. How does plant communication fit in?
Well, decoding how plants communicate, like those acacia trees sending out airborne warnings, could potentially lead to farming practices that rely far less on chemical pesticides. Imagine if we could harness the plant's own natural defense systems by understanding and perhaps even mimicking their signals. It could revolutionize pest control.
That would be huge. And then there's biomimicry, using nature's designs to inspire our own technology. We know the classic examples, Velcro from burrs, the bullet train nose from a kingfisher's beak.
Right, but the sources highlight a very recent, compelling example. A breakthrough at MIT that actually drew inspiration from the precise communication encoded in the bee waggle dance. They're using that understanding to develop more efficient and accurate drone navigation systems.
Using the B-dance for drones. Seriously.
Seriously. It just shows how nature's ingenuity, honed over millennia, can provide solutions to some of our most pressing modern challenges. Climate change, food security, biodiversity loss. The answers might already be out there.
This all paints an incredible picture of nature's complexity, its resilience, its ingenuity. But the sources also bring us back down to Earth with a crucial, urgent call to preserve it.
Huh.
As we marvel at these secrets, we have to confront the fact that human activity is directly threatening these very systems we're only just beginning to truly understand.
That's the critical reality, unfortunately. Deforestation, pollution, overfishing, climate change. Our actions are directly impacting the ecosystems that host all these incredible interactions we've been talking about. That WWF report delivers that stark warning. Possibly 1 million species face extinction, many within decades, largely due to habitat destruction and disruption caused by us.
And there's a local example from the sources that really hits home, relating back to the clownfish, isn't there?
Yes, the Tubataha Reefs in the Philippines, a place where many of these clownfish anemone partnerships thrive. Well, those reefs have seen a devastating 20% decline in coral cover just since 2010. Recent studies attribute this directly to warming ocean temperatures, exacerbated by climate change, and also illegal fishing practices. It shows that this global crisis is playing out right now in specific vital locations all around the world.
It makes the stakes incredibly clear. So protecting nature has to start with this kind of awareness and appreciation, right?
Yeah.
Which is exactly what exploring these hidden secrets helps to foster.
It absolutely does. And it requires concrete action, too, both individual, simple things like reducing plastic use, supporting conservation organizations, and on a larger scale through policy. Initiatives like the ASEAN Biodiversity Pact, aiming to restore 30% of degraded habitats in Southeast Asia by 2030, those show promise for large-scale recovery efforts.
But ultimately, it's a collective effort, isn't it? To ensure that future generations actually get to witness and continue to study the magic we've been discussing today.
It truly is. It has to be.
Well, we've certainly taken quite a journey through these sources and the secrets they've helped us uncover.
Yes.
From the incredible, almost intelligent networks happening underground with fungi, to the nuanced languages spoken by animals and plants, to the astonishing adaptability of life. And those beautifully complex partnerships like the clownfish and anemone.
Yeah, the core takeaway from all of this material is pretty undeniable, I think. Nature is far, far more complex, interconnected, and dynamically alive than most common misconceptions suggest. It's not just a collection of individual parts, it's a vast, constantly interacting network, a living system.
These discoveries absolutely challenge our assumptions, don't they? They deepen our appreciation and hopefully ignite a real sense of wonder about the world right under our noses or beneath our feet.
And maybe to leave you with a thought, building on that incredible sophistication we've seen in nature's communication and cooperation systems, considering how much we're still learning about how life interacts through chemistry, sound, hidden networks, just think, what other forms of communication and connection might exist out there in the natural world? Forms that we haven't even begun to imagine or detect yet.
That's a powerful question to keep asking. This journey of discovery is clearly far from over, and understanding these secrets feels more important now than ever before.